place I can talk shit. Excuse my language. Talk shit. At the same time I play. Starting with a $9,000 bounty. I've actually been on for a couple hours now. Did all my daily objectives. Obviously made a couple people mad, otherwise I wouldn't have this $9,000 bounty. Turn the headlights off. Don't want to give people a target. Anyhow. Okay. Politics today. Kind of a joke. It's gutter politics at its worst. Everybody's talked about the division in the country. A lot of people don't understand or don't know that, well, I'm old. 53 years old, seen a few things. Doesn't mean I know everything. Yes, memory is a trap. We tend to remember things that the way we want to remember. Oh, here comes somebody now. Always somebody wants to come after me. But what Donald Trump is doing, just on the level of decorum or dignity, you know, we have never had a president that has dragged our country through the mud, such as he has. And it's a shame. You know,
Why, hello, how you doing? Got it. And how much? Okay, let me speak to someone.
I'm busy talking, don't want to deal with that guy right now, so yes, I teleported. Anyway, Donald Trump is shameful. Whether you believe in the conspiracy, not collusion, it's called conspiracy, which is a crime, between the Trump campaign, Don Jr., any of the many, many lawyers that work for Trump, or Don Trump himself, set that aside. Forget Russian conspiracy collusion. Forget that aspect. This is a man who has been bankrupt or filed for bankruptcy, whether it be Chapter 11 or Chapter 9 restructuring or reorganization. He has basically run his supposed hundreds of millions of dollars into the ground and into the dirt several times. Now, some say, well, that's just a part of business. Okay, well, yes, you're right. In one aspect, Chapter 9 and Chapter 11 are a part of business. They are a part of business for restructuring. So you don't lose everything if you can make a plan to get your creditors paid and to get back on track. Other people use it to default or stay off creditors. That's Donald Trump's MO. He is not interested in restructuring. What he is interested in, and it's been numerous lawsuits against him accordingly, is cheating the people that work for him, the contractors, the trades.
Yes, sir.
Obviously, lawyers, because they're lining up to give testimony against him. Okay, just on that fact alone, in the past, no president has been able to get elected with that kind of controversy behind them. Then we take the aspect of misogyny, Me Too, and that aspect of it. Okay, yes, he got caught, whether he was bragging, joking, which according to many women around the world and country, he wasn't joking. He said it was okay to grab women by the pussies. He says he does it all the time. He did that on Access Hollywood or whatever it is, TC, whatever the hell they are, when they had an open mic. Didn't know he was being recorded. Okay, now, whether you believe he grabs women by the pussies, which, again, this is a guy who paid off a porn star, admittedly. You got to believe that, what do you call it? No other president has been able to get away with it. In fact, you take the key point with Bill Clinton, okay? They're not saying they were impeaching him for, what do you call it, cheating on Hillary or having sex with an intern. They were putting impeachment against him for lying to Congress. Okay, now Donald Trump has lied to everybody numerous times, numerous times. I mean, too many to count, actually. I know they have running totals. I think it's now like in the 4,000 or 5,000 lies or false statements since he took office. Okay, but that's neither here nor there. You can agree that he has at least lied once since been in office. Okay, now the degree of the lie, he's lying to hide a crime. Bill Clinton was lying to hide an affair. Okay, now I don't know one man in my 53 years that would openly admit that he had an affair on his wife or he cheated on his girlfriend. In fact, Shaggy made a song accordingly. Couldn't be more true. Okay, so yes, he lied to Congress, he lied to the United States, he lied to investigators about these affairs. Okay, that's bad. Okay, clearly Congress and the Senate didn't think it was bad enough to impeach because he wasn't impeached, but they did bring articles of impeachment against him. No one's done the same with Trump. That's absolutely ridiculous. Okay. People are afraid of Trump on both sides of the aisle because if they bring impeachment proceedings, this guy is just fucking stupid and crazy enough to try and take over the country or launch nukes or start a war, so it would be harder to get him out of office. That's the kind of crazy guy we got in there. The Republicans are afraid because the loudest Republicans right now are these redneck, ignorant, racist, backwater, poor white people. Now, you know what? That's fine. You're poor. I'm poor. I'm actually unemployed right now. I build houses, and in Oklahoma, it sucks right now. So I'm actually unemployed, sitting at home. So much for the job numbers. Yeah, job numbers are great if you can live off of minimum wage. But Trump can't take claim for that. It wasn't the tariffs. The tariffs caused layoffs and let-goes. The tax cut caused corporate buybacks, where they buy back their shares to make the value of the company more. So,
Hello?
Again, the rich can get richer and the poor can just take it in the ass. You can create 200,000 minimum wage jobs, but the only people that can do those jobs are kids living at home, retirees that live on a Social Security and pension and just need something to do during the day. And that's it. There's nobody else that can live off a minimum wage. You can't even buy a car and pay your utilities on minimum wage. And the corporations in this country have gotten hip to the fact that if you give people 40 hours a week, they have to give them benefits. So people, they'll hire 5 part-timers instead of 3 full-timers in order to avoid having to pay for health care. Now, they say this is to protect the mom and pop companies. Problem is companies like Walmart, Costco, Home Depot, Lowe's, and the national chains have used those same laws in order to keep wages low on people. In Oklahoma, there's one employer that pays above all and should be the model for other national corporations, and that's 7-Eleven. 7-Eleven has always been $5 or more than minimum wage minimum in the last 10 years that I've lived here or been around here. I haven't lived here the whole time in 10 years. Well, yeah, maybe I have. Anyway, um, and kudos, hats off to 7-Eleven in Oklahoma. It is an individual that owns the franchise 7-Elevens in Oklahoma that has decided that he would rather pay higher wages to get a better class of employee. And it's a smart move because it keeps shrinkage down, it keeps your stores clean, stocked, and your customers happy.
So,
But you can't, from corporations, politicians, banks, take money away from education and then complain that the labor pool is unskilled, uneducated, and not worth $12 an hour. You know, um, the whole system is jacked. Now, a lot of people think, well, we live in a democracy. I love democracy. Well, I love democratic process, but I love even more that we live in a republic. That's what we live in. That's the type of government we have, is a republic. Okay, that's our country. It is a country ruled by laws created by people that are democratically elected. I know you were bored in high school, so you didn't pay a lot of attention, but that's the truth of the policy. I'm just going to get bored here. Let's make some money while we're doing this. Work, search, start. So anyway, okay, we got decorum. Shame, he does not bring any class to the presidency. We got lies. Republicans, some of the same Republicans in office now. Lindsey Graham wanted to impeach Trump for lying about, or wanted to impeach Clinton for lying about, what do you call it? Having an affair with Monica Lewinsky. Side note, do you know any woman that gets cum on a dress and sends it home to her mom? That's unheard of. I mean, in all the porn scenarios, all the blackmail scenarios on TV and movies that I've seen in the last 50 years of my existence, I've never heard of an intern, a secretary, or a subordinate mailing home a cum-covered dress to her mom. Would she tell her mom, hey mom, I got some Clinton splooge, I'm going to save it for historic purposes? So the whole thing screamed of setup. Ken Starr, who prosecuted it, ended up becoming the lead lawyer for the whole Republican Party during Bush's administration. What's his name? Kavanaugh was in working with Starr to impeach Clinton, and you see where Kavanaugh has gone during the Bush administration. He got put into federal circuit courts so that by the time that Trump came along, if there was an opening, he would be seated and vetted for Supreme Court position. Okay. Now, Trump had really nothing to do with that. That was just something he had to do for the Republican Party. He didn't have a misogynist candidate that favors rich people any better than Kavanaugh, so he went with the party's recommendation. Anyhow, okay. So we got decorum, we got lies, tax cut. Again, okay. He likes to brag about him doing the biggest and the greatest of things while in office. He did. He gave the largest tax cut, single tax cut, to corporations and the top 10% rich people, elites, whatever you want to call them, in America. And people who are already filing their taxes this year found out that it was bullshit, that it was for them. I personally believe that's why Paul Ryan got out of politics by the end of the year, so that before, when people started filing their taxes, he wouldn't be in the controversy, because he stood up there and bold-faced lied before Congress and the American public, saying that this tax cut would make lives better for the poor or working class in America. Bold-faced lie. We already talked about the fact that they bought back stocks. We talked about that, probably just as in the banking and the subprime financial disaster, the most recent, a few years back. 2007. They did the same thing then. They gave themselves inflated bonuses with bailout money. People that left got severance packages in the hundreds and fifties and hundreds of millions of dollars. And we ended up getting the shaft. We end up paying for it. But most people don't pay attention to politics. They don't remember what they learned in high school, the little bit they learned in high school, because they're not going to teach school-age kids what's really going on in Washington with lobbyists, special interests, pork belly spending.
All done.
That would immediately say, probably the biggest result from that would be you wouldn't have another 18-year-old that would want to go fight in the war. He'd want to go to college and go to Washington to fix that shit. That's the reality we live in. So when you hear about these people talk about brainwashing and indoctrination and control, mass control, that's what they're talking about. If you only have part of the story, and the story is the part that they want to tell you, that's your belief system. So shameful president that lies, everything that would have gotten anybody else impeached. But let's take the Playboy Bunny, let's take the Stormy Daniels, the porn star, that two of the people that we know of that they paid off, but according to the latest testimony by Cohen, there's got to be a lot more. We won't know until we get into the vaults of AMI. For those of you who are not paying attention, that is the National Enquirer, the gossip rag on the front of every grocery store in America. 7-Eleven, any kind of shop and go, whatever liquor store, they generally sell the National Enquirer. Who says print is dead? We won't know what the full amount of women skeletons in the back of whatchamacallit. Ironically, there are a lot of groups condemning Bill Clinton, as they should. Let me note that, as they should condemn him for his 26 trips on Jeffrey Epstein's jets, which they call the pedophile, what do you call it? Don't remember what they're calling it. They have clever little phrases for it. But let's not forget, okay, you want to condemn Clinton for going on Jeffrey Epstein's teenage porn hell, whatever, then you have to condemn as well Donald Trump, because he flew with Jeffrey Epstein, seen with Jeffrey Epstein numerous times, seen with Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton and Hillary went to his wedding reception. So this hypocrisy and this pointing, it's all smoke and mirrors. Clearly there may not be a PP tape, but clearly something happened in Russia. I'm sorry, you don't get that specific of details without something close to the truth being part of it. I'm sorry, he's a rich guy. He never thought he was going to be president. But now that he is, either he needs to act appropriately and do the right thing, or he needs to resign. Of course, we don't really want to see that either, because then you get this religious nutbag Pence as president. I'm sorry. It's one of those situations where they need to both be gotten rid of. So I think a lot of people are waiting for 2020, because you really don't want Pence. It may be why Trump chose him. You don't want Pence to be the president. He's even worse than Trump. He's just the opposite direction.
Hey, what's going on?
Oh, is somebody trying to catch you slipping?
How much are we talking about? Okay, I got it.
Okay, where were we? Politics today. Well, if you listen to the commercials in this game, they satire. They satire the hell out of what's going on and what people are doing. You pay close enough attention. I can't turn the radio on because that violates some copyright infringement. I've already had a video taken down because I was listening to the radio on the game. Anyhow, I guess that's enough bullshit about politics. Trump's a disgrace. Whether you believe he colluded or not, you know, he stacked the court, which was unethical, but it's politics. What are you going to do? A lot of people are talking about the 81 letters for request for information by the House Judiciary Committee with a 2-week deadline. I haven't heard anybody in the press say it. You know, a lot of people speculate why. Why is he doing this? Mueller reports got all that information, all those people. The Southern District's got the same thing going on. It's kind of like a waste of time. I don't think it's a waste of time. I think if you read between the lines, I think it's sending a message to Barr, the new head of the DOJ, because Barr stood before the Senate during his confirmation and said that he would consider releasing parts of Mueller's report, what he could, based on protocols, rules of information and document release, you know, national security concerns, et cetera, et cetera. I think that Congress thinks that that's a whitewash, a cover-up, and to prevent it, you know, may not be, but to prevent the possibility of it, you want to let Barr know that, you know what, anything that you don't show us in the Mueller report, we'll go ahead and get anyway. So I think that's what the 81, what do you call it, are about. They're letting Barr know this is the information that they expect to see, full disclosure. I could be wrong, you know, anybody could say. But a 2-week deadline for the information, some people are saying, seems a bit short. I don't think it's short because by now they should have already had to compile and give this information to Mueller. Just like when Cohen testified, Cohen had said that, he had all the documents he had turned over to special counsel ready to go in his basement, in his storage. That would make sense because he had to get them all together, and when they returned them, they probably returned them all together, so in case anything else comes up, probably wanted to store them in easy access. So I can't imagine anybody else under the investigation not having to follow basically the same protocol. So yeah, 2 weeks is not really that big of a deadline. Even if they pushed it, they could still get the information because they already would have had to have provided it. But again, I don't think that they're expecting to get information that Mueller doesn't already have. I think they're basically wanting to get the information he does have. And that would make sense. If you want to pressure Barr into giving you the full report, you basically put it to him that anything you don't give us, we'll get on our own.
How can I be of service? I can do it briefly.
Fucking believable.
That thing.
Fucking Rockstar. Make that driving impossible. NASCAR fan guy's a troll. All right. Politics and gaming. Okay, gaming. Well, they're already speculating about the PlayStation 5, which, you know, of course, people that are speculating are coming out with stats or what do you call it, hardware. What do you call it? That sound like a dream machine. But I don't know about the cost. You know, seems 6 years for a gaming system. I guess that's the length of it, but some people want to play the games in the format longer than that. You can tell that everything starts to fall off with Rockstar. Hell, this game, GTA, you know, which is what, 6.5 years old now, probably their best franchise. They come out with Red Dead Redemption, and from what I've heard from most of the people, it's boring. It's got great graphics, it's got some cool elements to it, but the money and the story it's just boring, you know. I know a ton of people that have just come back over to this game after that. Now, I'm 53, so I don't get into much of the first-person shooters. Kind of lazy, so I like the assisted aim for mine. You know, that's an old man thing, and that's fine. I'm not entering any gaming competition, so why would I want it to be hard? You know, it doesn't make any sense to want it hard when it's a game. Now, if you're competitive and you're going to those tournaments, you know, where they're giving you millions of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars to beat a bunch of other gamers, yeah, okay. I could see you want to play Black Ops. That'll keep you frosty. But if you ain't getting paid to do it, you have to pay for DLCs when they come out, then no, I think I'd want it a little bit easier, you know. But that's why you have, since this game's out, there's been, what, 5 versions of Black Ops come out? So all they are is death matches, and this game has those. There's been 3 versions of Need for Speed. I do that all the time. I don't know why I do that all the time. Oh well. Guess I'm not all that. Anyhow, there's been many versions of other games. Battlefield's come out with a couple. Halo's come out with 3. All the time that this game, GTA 5, has been out. I wish the other companies would take a clue. The thing that makes this game still so popular is the fact that you have a huge open environment with a plethora, numerous, what do you call it?
How can I help you?
Hold on. Numerous weapons, flying, driving, jet vehicles, the whole 9 yards. Then you have death matches, you have racing, you have cops, you have every element of almost every video game, or the majority of video games, is in this game. You can play tennis, you can play golf, you can play darts, you can... You can arm wrestle. So even when you get bored with stuff, there's always a new element. And then Rockstar, once a month, once every 2 months, depending on, I guess, whatever their programming is, they come out with a huge update. They don't charge for it, but you can buy money to speed up the process. Why are more games not following the exact same diagram, paradigm, whatever you want to call it, system that GTA is? I don't know. I guess there's enough gamers out there that will buy their games even if they suck, and they end up sitting on the shelf after a month of playing. That's I have Apex Legends. I'm sorry, I can't do that first-person shit, so it's basically just on my hard drive. Probably 6 months from now, I'll get tired of looking at it on my menu and just delete it all out. Fortunately, that's a free game like DC Universe, so I didn't have to pay for it. Need for Speed, it's gotten to be a gamble buying that one. It seems like every other format or every other game that comes out is good. It has a good format, has good challenges, etc. Is the bounty coming after the bounty?
Hey, what's up? Oh, how can I help?
I think he is.
Give me a shout when you've made your mind up.
it's funny. My daughter's boyfriend, he's more into the Mortal Kombat type gaming now. The ones I can never understand is the games that it looks like you have an overhead view, like what was it, the first GTA, first and second GTA games were. You have these monsters that follow your lead or whatever. I don't know the name of it, League of Legends or some shit like that. I can't do that. Those games just are so old style, remedial, that I just get bored with them real fast.
You need something, huh? One of your rides? Let me know.
Whatever, girl, you being a hater. Call me when you feel
It's coming at you.
of me.
I like fresh rockets on my kid, that's why I do those. I played games like Pac-Man, and I played Pong when it first came out.
Get away from me, fool.
And every step of the video gaming's evolution. Hold on.
What inception?
There's so many elements to this game that I like.
What that shit do, dog? Cool, my man on his way. Later, homie.
Hey. How much are we talking about? I'll see what I can do.
We couldn't e-
I like bounties and they get to fighting each other. So, yeah, I've been playing this game for what, 6.5 years, 6+ years anyway. I don't play as much as I used to. Shit happens, what are you gonna do? But out of all the games I have, it's the one that I like the most. So I like the freedom to move around, do whatever I want. I don't want to fuck with people. I can put it in passive mode and I'll be okay. Just too many elements to the game to be disappointed. He thinks I'm still on that building, dumbass.
I'm guessing you don't... Okay, target confirmed. What price do you want on their head? Done deal, my friend. I'll make it happen.
Anyway, that's politics and gaming this morning. There's a lot more to talk on politics. The new Green Deal, a lot of people don't realize it's more of a proposal, goals, guidelines. But if you haven't been paying attention to the weather outside, then you're the only one still believing there's no climate change. Now, again, anybody can argue whether it's oil, pollution, carbon monoxide, humans. You could argue all those things, okay? Doesn't change the fact that we need to do something to fix it, okay? That's the plain and simple of it. Whether you agree that we're causing it or if it's a natural event, you cannot deny anymore that it is a fact of life. Climate change is here. And it is drastic, and it is wreaking havoc. You got tornadoes in places that never get tornadoes. You got snow in places that never get snow. You got droughts and shit during the summer that could kill. You know, it's just a simple fact of life. People just don't seem to want to acknowledge that. So we'll go to another session. Here in Oklahoma, synonymously, we've had snow, cold weather, some rain, all winter long, usually from late October through, shit, we've been known to have snow as late as April. But our weather is so sporadic now. My grass has turned green and brown again twice in the last 2 months. That's in February and January. Okay, so I don't know what that's going to do with the insects, pollination. I don't know what that's going to do as far as food production. I don't want genetically modified organic food, GMOs. Don't know what the long-term effects of that are. You know, they put fluoride in water. You know, they put hormones in milk. They gave animals steroids and antibiotics, and realized years later that it causes autism, causes cancer, causes birth defects. So, you know, just relying on Monsanto, what do you call it, Roundup, to keep us safe with seeds and poison. Sorry, that's just ridiculous on the face of it, you know. But Monsanto, being a multi-billion-dollar corporation, is able to keep any litigation stalled until people run out of money or die. They're able to use their money and advertising power to kill stories on major networks. And I'm talking ABC, CBS, NBC, not to mention the 24-hour news outlets. So, you know, that's the world we live in. The ironic thing about this is, if you look at the big picture, it's kind of overwhelming. You know, you think, why can't, you know, one person can't do nothing. You know, you're right. But it has to start with one person. It has to start with each one of us. We have to make a decision that, you know what, this is just not acceptable. Whether I'm going to carry the message to other people that don't know what's really going on, or whether I'm going to correct people that parrot back fake news, which the only fake news network out there is Fox. There are fake internet news companies. There's numerous of those, okay, but not everybody gets their news from the internet. They do get it from Fox, CNBC, MSNBC, CNBC, CNN, ABC, CBS, and NBC. Okay, people get their news there. Okay, Fox perverted that. News was supposed to be news. It was never meant to be profitable. It was meant to keep the people informed and the government in check. That's what news is. Fox took it to another level, and they decided to turn it into entertainment. You know, and that's what it is. It's 90% opinions and maybe 10% actual news, actual facts. The spin, as they call it, which I call lies or deception, but the spin that all the media networks have been putting on for ratings is disgusting. Some of the old names, I preferred news when it was Edward R. Murrow. But a lot of people don't realize that in the 80s, Reagan, one of our worst presidents, that people don't really realize or know that he was one of our worst presidents, he deregulated and killed the fairness doctrine in the 80s. And part of his deregulation, media companies were able to buy up more and more TV, news, magazines, um, stations. So they basically had influence over the editorial content of those stations. Then you got Rupert Murdoch, who owns Fox. Immediately, there's the documentaries out there about Rupert Murdoch. Immediately, he turned it into a propaganda machine. He was a hardline conservative, and everybody has the right to their politics, but you don't have the right to lie to the American people and call it news when news is meant to be something that's true and factual. That's bullshit. But that's what the Fairness Doctrine kept in check. And Reagan, when he did his deregulation, which again, people don't like anti-Semitism, okay, but the Zionist, not necessarily just because they happen to be Jewish, but the Zionist, who think the rest of us are cattle, sheep, less than any of them. They made sure, after the many persecutions that they've had during human existence, to take control of mass media, because they knew that's what people paid attention to. That's what people saw. So between the Anti-Defamation League and AIPAC, they're not allowed. Nobody's allowed to put out any stories against Israel or the Zionist without being called anti-Semitic or a Nazi or a bigot. And it ain't got nothing to do with Jewish. It's got to do with the Zionist goal. There's Nazis in America, but we don't call America Nazis. There's Jews in America, but we don't call it Jews. Other countries do, but we're a mix of all. And our First Amendment says that we have the right to speak. Okay, now, I'm not talking about news organizations. I'm talking about Americans. Now, I can get up and tell you that Israel is occupying Palestinian land, has blockaded the country, basically cut them off from financial, medical, and food resources, all in the hopes of stealing all of Palestinians' lands. And this was a deal that was done by the Rothschilds, who just happened to be Zionist central bankers and Jewish. This was designed by them after World War II. A lot of people don't realize that, but they were promised Jerusalem and Israel after World War II if America would finance the war in World War I and enter it to help win. That was part of what led to the Nazis and them rebelling against the central banks and Jewish Zionist global power that tried to dictate to them what was going on. They honed it after World War II, and now you have what it is, where the UN and other countries call out the human rights violations by the Jews, which by count, they probably have killed more Palestinians than the Nazis ever killed of Jews. But people don't know that. To me, it's sick. It'd be like a black guy being justified going around killing hundreds and hundreds of white people because of slavery. Slavery was bad, but the people that committed those crimes are gone. Just like the Nazis are gone. There's new neo-Nazis, okay, but again, they're underground. They're small. By your policies of how you treat the Palestinians and what you do around the world as far as the diamond banking and media industries, you got it coming. I'm sorry. There's a reason why every civilization in history that has had a Jewish population has tried to either expel, exterminate, or enslave that population. It's the mindset. It is their way of doing things. Based on their religion, we're all a joke. Based on our religion, they're the chosen people. Does anybody ever question that? Bible school says the Jews are a chosen people, but the Jews don't believe in the Bible. So why should we? Okay, this was supposed to be gaming and politics. Unfortunately, religion is politics nowadays. They're attacking that Omar, and I'm sorry, I agree with her. If you have politicians that have dual citizenships, they shouldn't be politicians. If you're a politician in America, you should be solely an American citizen. Your allegiance should be above and unquestioningly for the United States. If you are a politician and you have a dual citizenship with Israel, okay, I'm sorry, you're not there on our behalf. Now they want to pass anti-Semitism legislation, which is basically just to placate their donors. But I'm sorry, you have to look at this from a different perspective. You're going to pass anti-Semitism legislation, which is in complete and direct contradiction to the First Amendment of the Constitution. What's next? It's against the law to say, well, you get my point. Now, I don't agree with calling someone a kike, a Jew, a nigger, a chink, a wetback. I don't agree with any of that. But people do get heated, and that's sometimes the way they vent. And yes, there is a small percentage of people that feel that way, but it's the divisiveness in government and financial equity or economy, whatever you want to call it. Those are what breaks it up. Anyway, I think an hour of this crap is enough for y'all. Most of you won't even understand what I'm talking about. This is just my way to vent. And since I'm clearly stuck and we're going to have to leave out of this screen, I'm going to call it a day.